It's a lot of Disney Channel original movies out there, man. Some became extremely successful, even branching off into franchises, while others kind of went under the radar. I think we can all agree that 2010's Den Brother is an example of this. A movie starring Zeke and Luther's Hutch Dano and Leah Little's Big Show's G. Hernelius. But what about Dog with the Blog? This was 2 years before that show came out. It did not exist when this movie aired, bro. I, for one, remember this movie coming out, but for whatever reason, I just never watched it. I don't know. You'd think I would have, right? Considering who's in it, but here we are. As part of my Zeke and Luther era on this channel, I've decided to talk about it because, as I mentioned, Hutch Dano is in it, so it fits perfectly. Sit back, relax, and grab a box of Thin Mints, because today we will be reviewing the 2010 Disney Channel original movie, Den Brother.
Thought the whole world revolved around him.
I played great.
Until his sister needed his help.
The meeting is canceled. No den mother, no true.
Let's say that I'm your den brother.
The newest Disney Channel original movie invites you to hit the ice, sell some cookies, and see what it takes to be the ultimate brother. Hutch Dano and G. Hernelius star in Den Brother, a Disney Channel original movie coming this summer to Disney Channel.
Den Brother premiered on Disney Channel on August 13th, 2010. Like most DComs, the cast is made up of a few Disney actors. I already talked about Hutch and G, but also appearing in this movie is David Lambert, who a lot of you probably know from The Fosters, but real ones know him from Aaron Stone. Yeah, remember that? Additionally, we also have Kelsey Chow from Parrot Kings, though I think this movie came out a little before Parrot Kings premiered. I want to say that this movie was purposely filled with actors from XD shows in order to get them more acclimated into the overall, Disney family, and also introduce them to people who weren't watching XD at the time. Also, oddly enough, the voice of Doc McStuffins is in this movie. Like, what? I actually got into an argument with the creator of Doc McStuffins, but that's for another time. There's also Kelly Gold, who looked super familiar to me, but then I looked her up, and she's been in all sorts of Disney stuff, most notably Jessie. There's some other people in this movie too, but we'll talk about them later. The film was directed by Mark L. Taylor, who is really known more so as an actor. Unless IMDb is out here telling lies, this is the only full-length movie he's directed, which is interesting. Does he do a good job? Well, let's find out. When the movie starts off, we're almost immediately introduced to popular teenage hockey superstar, Alex Pearson. I don't really know any hockey players, so don't expect too many hockey references throughout this video. I know Wayne Gretzky, but only really because of Everybody Hates Chris.
Gretzky? It's Gretzky. With an E, you got that big old head and you can't even spell Gretzky.
Although Alex is a great player, one thing that's obvious is his lack of humility and willingness to be cooperative. Although he does want to win, he wants to make sure that he's the one responsible for it. And we see this perfectly when Alex fights with his own teammate, Goose, short for Gustavo, over the puck, resulting in a turnover and subsequently a loss. Both boys have pretty different reactions to this. While Goose is pretty upset by what just transpired, Alex isn't fazed by it, especially since his stellar play for most of the game notched him another hat trick, which in hockey apparently occurs when a single player scores 3 goals in a single game and fans celebrate by throwing hats onto the ice. Great, first I had to familiarize myself with skating vocabulary, and now I'm gonna have to do the same with hockey. Why can't every Disney movie or show just be about basketball? Man, I gotta review Like Mike or something soon. Alex's self-centeredness continues to be displayed in the locker room after the game, where Goose tells him that every game matters, so they need to be all in on winning. But Alex rebuttals this by saying that considering their record is so low, they have almost no shot at making the playoffs anyway, so he might as well focus his shift to making the All-Star game. Oh, I get it. Alex is LaMelo Ball. Got it. Alex's egocentric nature isn't just present on the hockey rink though. Instead of going home immediately after the games so we could watch his sister Emily, he ends up arriving 12 minutes later than he should have, which in result makes his father late for a lecture that he has to give. They do a good job of pointing out though that Alex isn't like a straight up jerk who hates everyone and everything, you know what I mean? Instead of doing the whole cliche big brother little sister fighting all the time thing that we see in stuff like, ironically, Zeke and Luther, Alex and his sister actually do seem to get along.
Alex, please.
No.
Well, most of the time at least. This is something that ends up being a really good thing though, because as it turns out, the two will be required to spend a lot more time together. You see, Emily is a member of a Girl Scout troop called the Bumblebees. They got the hats, the vests, the badges. Yeah, nah, they are all basically Bessie Higginbottom. You gotta love it. Anyway, things start to get a little complicated when it's been revealed that the original troop leader, Mrs. M, will be moving to Chicago. And since you can't have a troop without a leader, the troop will be shutting down. All of this was handled pretty poorly. She didn't even have a person set up to watch over the troop in her place for today's meeting. So, Alex sticks around and helps them brainstorm ideas on how to find a new leader, but none of them seem too achievable. This becomes incredibly upsetting when the girls realize that without a leader, they won't be able to get into Camp Brulee, the most important Bumblebee event of the year, one that requires you to reach certain thresholds in order to attend. The girls beg Alex to run today's meeting, but he's not too thrilled about that idea.
There is no way that I'm going to be your designated
Say it!
den mother.
Almost there. Despite his lack of interest in filling Mrs. M's role, he does eventually cave, trying his best to take the lead of the girls' meeting. Not knowing much else about anything else though, he decides to take the girls on a little field trip to an outdoor hockey rink. While teaching the girls how to play, he gets a little visit from this dude named Titus, and man is this dude's face punchable. Man, if he was in front of me right now, I'd do him like I was zoomed to Flash in season 2 episode 6. Say I won't. Yeah, that's what I thought. Matter of fact, shut your Alright, anyway, to explain who this Titus character is, earlier in the movie during the opening scene, it's implied that Alex and Titus are rivals, and Alex's drive to take him down is ultimately what led to the turnover, which in result cost him the game. Alex still feels the need to one-up him though, so he skates his way over to him and, well, gets laid out. You know what we're missing so far? That random line of dialogue that confirms whether a character's parent is still alive or not.
If Mom were alive?
There it is. Phew. I scared for a second. Gotta keep that streak of dead or separated parents in Disney Channel original movies going. The main plot of the movie really starts to get set up during the next hockey scene, where Alex gets suspended from the team thanks to a rather egotistical entrance to the game. An entrance that involved not only his own breakaway banner, but even his own sponsor, Moses Rose's Fine Floral Shop. The showy display and dramatic act was just too over the top and not fit for what they're trying to go for, and additionally, just once again shows where his mind is at. Even after getting suspended, Alex's only takeaway is that now he won't get to make the All-Star team. His suspension disappoints his father very much, and rightfully so. So to make it hit home for him, he decides to task him with a bunch of chores. Dude, get your shoes off the bed. Good grief. I hate when movies and shows do stuff like this. No family allows that. Somebody's probably taking naps on that pillow. Anyway, yeah, he gives him a bunch of outdoor activities to do to teach him a little about responsibility, saying that maybe when all of this is over, they'll talk about getting him a car, which is something that's been a constant talking point throughout the movie. Eventually, Alex once again gets tasked with watching the girls, as none of their parents are interested in becoming the new leader. They ask him if he can take them to the community center, since a basket decorating party is being held there for all the troops. And he isn't too interested in going. That is until he finds out that a girl from the school named Matisse is going to be there, helping out her little sister. This girl is someone we see a few times in the beginning of the movie, and as you can imagine, Alex has a bit of a crush on her. He straight up asks her out, but she turns him down. I don't think it's a looks thing either. I think she's just very much so aware of the kind of dude that Alex is and doesn't want any part of it. And you know what? Good on her for figuring that out. So he walks the girls down to the center, and sure enough, Matisse is there. Also there is Dina Reams, played by Vicki Lewis, and as you could all probably guess, she's the antagonist of the movie. She just kind of has that vibe to her where you just immediately know off rip.
If you want to make baskets that are easily sold, just follow directions and do as you're told.
You thought you ate with that one. Get out of my face. Ugh, I already hate this character, man. She reminded me of that one teacher that everyone in school just hated. Probably was your reading teacher or something. I hated this one teacher so much, man. I'm not going to say her name. I don't want to dox her or nothing, but... Well, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, Alex starts helping his girls make baskets, but considering he wants to impress Matisse, he decides to call up that flower shop that sponsored him to see if they had any more baskets. After receiving his delivery, Mrs. Reams takes notice of him and starts to question where Troop 57's den mother is. Without a den mother, there's no troop, so technically they should be disqualified. Feeling protective over the kids, Alex makes up a fib about a Mrs. Zamboni that is apparently their den mother, and she's not present with the kids because she's home with strep throat. In case no one got the reference, this is a Zamboni, hockey and ice and whatnot. Obviously, there is no Mrs. Zamboni, though. Such an on-spot lie is only going to lead to mischief and shenanigans. Alex, though, says he will come up with a plan to smooth this all out and find the girls a replacement den mother. But in the meantime, he'll have to be there.
Who?
Say it.
You have me.
Oh, come on, man. Seriously? Whatever.
go away. We'll be back with the Disney Channel movie. We're back with the Disney Channel movie.
All right, let's say that I'm your den brother.
There it is. What a way to come back from commercial break. The second act of the movie is where Alex becomes even less likable. Even I was getting pretty annoyed by it. He tricks the girls into doing an assortment of chores for him, disguising that task as something Bumblebee related. One person who notices this is Mrs. Jacklitz, played by Deborah Mooney. She's Alex's neighbor, and we actually see her earlier in the movie, after Alex runs over her flowers. Guilt doesn't seem to be wired into Alex's brain though, because as a gift for doing the house chores, or at least being under the impression that he did, Alex's dad gives him a new car. Well, new to him. And I say he doesn't seem to feel any guilt because although he obviously wishes the car was in better condition, he has no problem accepting it, which is just crazy to me, because you'd think he'd be like, oh, I don't really deserve this, but nope. He's got his work cut out for him though when it comes to getting the car up and running, so he once again tricks the girls into doing the work for him. This time, giving them fake badges. He even has them doing a bunch of other chores as well. While getting work done, that Dina woman from earlier stops by to pay the girls and Mrs. Zamboni a little visit. So they send one of the girls out there to stall her from entering the house, while the others try to turn Alex into Mrs. Zamboni. Kinda. Once everything is good, Dina asks Mrs. Zamboni if she'll be attending the Bumblebee leadership meeting. And she says that she likely won't due to her condition, but claims that Alex will be there instead, and will be riding with Matisse. After Dina leaves, the girls are upset that Alex never mentioned that he was going on what they feel like is a date with Matisse, and they want to help him out.
You know a lot about hockey, right? We know a lot about girls.
Yeah, 8-year-old girls maybe, not teenagers. And the last person I want to prepare me for a date is my significantly younger sister. The only thing she knows about relationships probably came from like Zoe 101 or something. This is 2010. Maybe like Victorious because of Jade and Beck, which is actually much worse in retrospect. Regardless, the girls sit him down and talk about proper date etiquette, what to talk about and what to wear.
Rachel wants to dress him like a biker. This is so cool.
Well, you just know she gonna shop at Hot Topic when she grows up. She probably already do now, honestly. I think the part that makes me a little sad is the revelation that thanks to Hot Topic's dad owning an auto paint shop, the girls managed to get Alex's beat up raggedy old car turned into a nice, put together, but still old car. And I mention this is sad because while they're out here genuinely helping and improving his life, he's just taking advantage of their naivety. And look at how happy they are too. Like, they genuinely get a kick out of helping this dude. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think they really did anything special to improve his attire or looks. It actually just kind of looks like he's about to paint a wall or something, but hey, it's the thought that counts. Also, in case anyone was wondering, I don't think Alex is leaving all those girls in the house alone. They have a maid or whatever, and I'm pretty sure he just left them with her. Before heading out, Alex gets a visit from Mrs. Jacklitz, who notices the work that the girls did on the car. She mentions how things like integrity, fidelity, and readiness are all part of being bumblebees. The girls have clearly been displaying all of those qualities, but she questions if their den brother, or brother in this case, has as well. Alex thinks about that for a second, but ultimately just drives off, making it obvious that he might not be fit to lead them. Alex picks up Matisse and mentions how his new look was curated by his sister and friends.
Here, let me.
Yeah, that did absolutely nothing. At the Bumblebee leader meeting, it comes to Alex's attention that his troop is significantly behind on cookie sales. Because of this, he plans on doing a huge push at the mall to catch up, but runs into a bit of a problem when Dina says that her troop sells at the mall, and her troop only. But this prompts Alex to talk about how quote-unquote un-American it is that only her troop gets to sell cookies at the mall. It would be a lot more fair if they all sold cookies there. And everyone else seems to be behind that idea, even turning it into a little friendly competition. So that Saturday, Alex takes his girls out there to sell some cookies. Every Disney Channel original movie, even the non-music heavy ones, typically have at least one song specifically made for it. Carrying that tradition in this one is It's a Girl Thing by Anna Margaret. You might recognize that name from a few things, but chances are you associate it with one of the other 2010 Disney Channel original movies, Starstruck. That's right, she was responsible for the banger Something About the Sunshine, a song that still pops up in my playlist every now and then. This is going to be an insane throwback, but she also had this McDonald's commercial in the late 2000s that some of y'all might remember. Yeah. My fault. Anyway, It's a Girl Thing song is alright, it's fine. Has nothing on Something About a Sunshine though. Troop 57 is doing a pretty good job of selling cookies in clever and innovative ways. While that's going on though, Dina wants to speak to Mrs. Zamboni, and Alex quickly makes up a lie saying that she's in one of the mall clothing stores. Having no other choice considering he needs to cover his tracks, he decides to go into the store himself to grab some random clothes to try on in the dressing room, doing his whole fake voice thing to throw off Dina. She questions why she's not out there with the rest of her troop, but Alex, or Zamboni, flips it back on her, asking her the same question, and even adding in a remark about her questionable leadership skills. Dina says that she will regret said remark, and oh, you know who this woman remind me of? The dragon from Monsters University. It's been killing me this whole video. And I'm not like frying her or anything, that's just the energy she gives off. Matisse actually wants to grab a word with Zamboni herself, and eventually they get on the topic of Alex and how great he allegedly is, even talking about how often he mentions Matisse. And Matisse leaves the conversation feeling a lot more interested in at least the idea of dating him. But in classic DCOM fashion, all of this gets tossed out the window when we reach the climax of the story.
What are those supposed to be?
What are those supposed to be? Man, how about you? Never mind. I was told I was too mean to Ant Farm Girl in my Ramona and Beezus video, so I gotta dial it back. My apologies. To my viewers, that is. Not Ant Farm Girl. I'm not apologizing. I still hate her. Anyway, these girls start frying all these girls' badges for how fake they look. Technically, Alex didn't totally break a rule though. Independent study badges are allowed. Where he went wrong though was individualizing all of the badges. Only 1 or 2 are allowed.
Bumblebees? More like wannabes.
Man, if y'all don't get your Despicable Me look... Alright, maybe I do have a problem.
Too bad there's no gullibility badge.
Bro, what kind of Hanna-Barbera laugh was that? How you sounded like... Crazy pull. Alright, everyone is pretty disappointed in Alex, and the girls specifically are just totally heartbroken. You can see it in their faces. Even homegirl from Bella and the Bulldogs. Yeah, bet you thought I was gonna reference that now, were ya? What y'all know about that? Video coming soon, and I'm only half joking. In need of some clearing of the mind, Alex heads to the one place he feels comfortable, the ice, or the bleachers, technically, but you know. He actually runs into Goose, who I completely forgot was in this movie. As it turns out, Goose was under the impression he was there to cheer on the team, but in actuality, he just wanted to have someone to vent to, which Goose believes once again just shows what kind of person he is. This is demonstrated even more so when Alex says that he has to at least attempt to fix the situation, because if he doesn't, Emily is going to be mad at him forever and Matisse won't date him. He doesn't mention the fact that it's just naturally the right thing to do after ruining all these kids' chances at getting into Camporee. And before Goose has a chance to knock some sense into him, Alex heads out. The next day, the girls spot a pair of binoculars and clues in their meeting room. Even though they're aware that this is probably just Alex, who, in case you forgot, is kind of selling the bag right now, they decide that since they still need him, they would humor his little scavenger hunt. They spot him across the bridge and rush over to him, and they're greeted with the announcement that they've all officially qualified for their orienteering badge. Like, for real, it's a real badge, and orienteering is a real word, apparently. Y'all know I'm a little stupid, y'all gonna have to forgive me. Speaking of forgiveness, Alex begs for theirs and says that although he messed up, he still plans on getting the girls into the Camporee. So, if they're interested in locking in, he's gonna lock in with them. He even brought out all the equipment that they need in order to get these badges, and the girls are up for the task. Alex has them complete a bunch of activities to help them get their badges, all of which are skills that they will need to compete in the Camporee. But they can't celebrate too much because they still need the appropriate amount of cookie sales. Something that is especially unfortunate because cookie sales have, well, closed.
Maybe we could sell something else. Like our blood.
Whoa, relax, Hot Topic. She wildin', bruh. She a little weirdo. Eventually, they come up with the idea to sell muffins instead, homemade muffins at that. It's a good idea and the girls seem down. That is until they find out they have to sell 2,075. And even though this doesn't seem to be too achievable, the girls decide that they should at least attempt it.
Ideally, we want to find a big group of people that are all jammed together or hungry, and if they were cold, that would be a bonus.
So, a homeless shelter?
What about the big hockey game? Oh, perfect.
I don't want to talk about the hockey game. Now, where can we go where there's going to be a big group of people who are cold and hungry?
A homeless shelter.
The hockey game.
Wow, you guys are horrible people. Well, anyway, they go ahead and start making muffins for the hockey game, and Alex finds himself in a bit of a predicament. Considering he's like the LeBron of high school hockey, people will no doubt recognize him there. Now, ideally, this would be great for marketing since he's so well liked there, but Alex kinda doesn't want to be seen with a bunch of little girls, even his sister. So he comes up with some bogus excuse like Ms. Zamboni should be there instead of him. That's when Hot Topic comes up with the idea to disguise Alex as Ms. Zamboni, and surprisingly he goes along with it. Will it be enough to convince people though? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. At the hockey game, the girls start selling muffins and unexpectedly, they run into Dina. She starts making a whole thing about them allegedly being there without their den mother or even their junior helper. And right when she's about to report them, we get the reveal we've been waiting for like 20 seconds, I guess? Oh man, they got this dude looking like... But a more appropriate comparison, and honestly a much more accurate one, would of course be Mrs. Doubtfire, the famous Robin Williams movie, one that I haven't seen in over a decade and need to rewatch. Now Dina is there because her husband, the dude from the beginning who originally suspended Alex, is required to attend every game. Of course those two are married. Dina backs off as Alex, or should I say Ms. Zamboni, gives the girls a pep talk, specifically the very timid Tina, who so far has been detected to be pretty introverted. To cover more ground, they all split up and use their own methods to sell muffins. Even Tina is finding success. But of course, since Alex never really did learn his lesson, he has to once again ruin everything. He overhears the coach talking to his players and even yells, as Mrs. Zamboni, of course, to sub in Alex. The coach says that he can't due to him being suspended, but if he was here, then he'd sub him in. Alex didn't need to hear that twice, so he immediately takes off some of his disguise and checks himself into the game. Keyword is he only took off some of his disguise. So all of those fans in attendance really just see a grandmother on skates, rush into a game, and score a winning goal. The only people in attendance that really know what's going on are the girls, Alex's father, and Dina. Though it does get announced via the commentators that due to how the bucket was scored, there's only one person who could have done it. Alex. Even though he scored the winning goal and even helped the team clinch a playoff spot thanks to them going on a win streak in his absence, which is ironic, Goose is pretty bummed. Not because the team won, but because once again, Alex had to make everything about him. Even worse, for the second time in 10 minutes, he disappoints his sister. Because this little stunt makes getting into the camporee even harder now. After all that work they put in to get this far. Think about the muffins. All of those muffins. Wouldn't have happened if y'all went to the homeless shelter. I'm just saying, I'm not... And he fumbled the girl too. Wow. See, this proves that even if you win, you can still be a loser. And that's certainly a word I'd use to describe Alex right now. And see, he thinks that getting grounded and serving his time is going to solve everything and make him feel better. Like that would make up for what he did. But truthfully, the most impactful punishment he can endure is the guilt of messing things up for Emily and the rest of Troop 57.
I just bit right on the highway.
You know, all of this kind of reminds me of another decom from this era called Hatching Pete. Made a video about it, you should watch it. But the reason why this reminds me of the movie is because this one is actually doing the exact opposite of what they should have done in that one. Main character Cletus, well, he wasn't the main character, but one of the main characters' name in the movie was named Cletus, and he does a lot of sleazy things for his own self-interest, and in the end, I'm pretty sure he never even apologizes to his best friend and gets away scot-free. Something like that. I haven't watched the movie in a while, but I remember saying something along those lines. The point is, so far I've actually been enjoying this movie, and I enjoyed Hatching Pete. But what could have broken this movie for me is if they just had Alex realize he was wrong, like in the scene with Goose, but actually learn his lesson there and move on. Instead, they dragged it on because in the real world, that's kind of how it works. Sometimes you just have to live with your mistakes and learn from them. This idea is slowly starting to get into Alex's head. But even after conversations with his best friend and father, he still goes for an outside source for advice, one that you likely wouldn't expect. While outside, he spots Mrs. Jacquelette's dog and returns it to her. Turns out she heard about the Mrs. Zamboni thing, and she invites him to give him a little talk. While in her house, Alex notices that Jacquelette's has quite the impressive bumblebee resume. She even has her daughter and granddaughter's badges. But the discovery that turns Alex's world upside down and truly sets him on the right path when he finds out that his mom was in Mrs. Jacquelette's daughter's troop. See, it never even really occurred to Alex that in a normal circumstance, it would have most likely been his mom to take the lead after the original troop leader left earlier in the movie. But instead, since she passed some time ago, it's been him. When he looks at it like that, he realizes how badly he messed up, especially with Emily. So, he and Miss Jacquelette's come to an agreement that if he does housework for her, she'll be the girl's den mother. The next day, Alex goes to the girls and delivers probably his first real heartfelt apology of the movie. even holding back tears when addressing his sister specifically. He acknowledges that an apology won't help them get into Camporee though, so to help them make one final push, he introduces the girls to Mrs. Jacquelette's, all dripped out in their bumblebee attire. After Alex leaves, she actually brings up a pretty good point. They were the ones that helped Alex create this lie and helped them go along with it. It's not like they're totally innocent. Not all of the blame should be put on them. So their first goal to work towards, or as they call it, a go for it, is forgiveness. There's a lot of that going on right now though, as the hockey players are mulling over if they forgive Alex for his previous tomfoolery. And well, it's a Disney movie, so the boys do end up doing so, even reassuring Alex that he's still their captain. And as their captain, he decides to, I guess, let Goose carry the offense or something. I really don't know what's going on. I've never watched hockey before. But thanks to a series of trick moves, fast skating, and most importantly, teamwork, the guys end up winning the game. The good news doesn't stop there though. Thanks to his game-winning shot, Goose ends up making it to the All-Star game. Plus, Alex gets a visit from the girls and his dad, who is attending his first hockey game. I guess technically that's not true, because he was there when the whole... We're just going to say it was his first hockey game. The girls are happy to see him, which makes sense considering everything Mrs. Jacqueline taught them about forgiveness. Alex is happy to see them, but then realizes that the Camporee is tomorrow, so they need to do everything they can and make sure they're prepared for it. But they say that they have everything they need. That is, besides a den mother. Alex is confused by this, considering he enlisted Mrs. Jacqueline to take over, but as it turns out, although the girls are appreciative of her, they still want him to lead them, especially since they would have never gotten as far as they have without him. So Alex accepts their invitation to, once again, become the girls' den brother. The one thing they kind of glossed over is the fact that I guess Mrs. Jacqueline helped them off camera do what they needed to do in order to qualify for the Camporee, because in the next scene, we see them there and Alex goes to sign them up.
How are we doing on that sign?
There seems to be a...
Oh my god, I hate this lady, bruh. She always pops up when it inconveniences you the most. She's like a PJ Washington 3. That was a good joke. Dina says that since Mrs. Zamboni doesn't exist, the girls have no den mother, which means they can't check in. But as it turns out, thanks to the girls studying the rule book, Alex is actually qualified to be their den mother, as long as the girls' parents sign off on it. And sure enough, they all did. To make things even more official, they give bro the official bumblebee drip. Do people still say drip? I haven't been keeping up, honestly. Dina tells her husband to do something, but instead of putting an end to this, he actually just invites bro to the all-star team. Man, this dude does not like his wife. You just know that divorce is coming soon. Everyone starts cheering around Alex, chanting his name and celebrating this good news. Even Matisse. And the movie, might I say, almost abruptly ends with Alex picking up his sister, embracing this new chapter of his life, both as a hockey player and a den brother. I know, that line was a little on the nose. What can I say though, I'm feeling whimsical. I don't know, man. I actually kind of like this one. I've been reviewing kids' movies for so long, with most of them being, well, bad. Something like this was honestly a nice change of pace. It is totally a forgettable movie, though. Like 100%. I definitely get why this one never gets acknowledged. I do think part of that is thanks to the cast being primarily made up of up-and-coming Disney XD stars, though. Like, if you were to put, say, let's see, who was on Disney around this time? Like David Henry in the role. Honestly, it probably still stays the same. Never mind. Nah, it's definitely forgettable though. But forgettable doesn't always mean bad. There just wasn't much to make this movie stand out. The release date for this movie was pretty crazy in retrospect, because they had the nerve to put this out only like 3 weeks before Camp Rock 2, one of their biggest movies ever. They did not care about giving this movie any breathing space, bruh. I even had a hard time like finding like decent quality promos for this movie. I would watch whole Disney Channel commercial breaks only to see a bunch of ads for Camp Rock, even though technically the Den Brother was coming first, so Disney should have been using that time to advertise this movie. But like I said, this movie isn't bad. I think it's decent. It's definitely better than other movies I've reviewed on this channel. No matter how many comments you leave, you'll never be able to convince me that Frenemies was good, just being honest. Starting with the characters, specifically Alex, I think he's a good example of a good bad character. I've seen reviews of this movie like, I hated it, the main character is such a jerk. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point of the movie, is it not? We're not supposed to root for him for most of the movie, because there's a lesson in this about accountability, humility, and some other ability. I think him learning about those things, especially in the manner that he did, was worth sitting through all the stupid stuff that he did. For once, Disney Channel actually turned the dead parent cliche into something meaningful, and I love the fact that even after multiple people he was close with repeatedly tried to tell him to stop acting this way, it wasn't until he realized he was more or less filling the role that his mom would have taken had she still been alive, when he realizes he needed to tighten up, at the very least for Emily's sake. There's a line in this movie where he tells Matisse that it wouldn't be fair for her to miss out on all of the girly stuff just because her mom passed. And even though at that point in the movie he wasn't like fully engaged into the whole Bumblebee thing, there's still a lot of truth to that statement. And I'd like to think that that came back into his head when he was at Mrs. Jacquelette's house, fighting back tears. Now he became the reason that Emily was missing out on that stuff, and that didn't sit well with him. At that point, he didn't even care if it was him that was responsible for Emily's happiness. He just wanted to make sure that she was happy, hence him getting Mrs. Jacquelette to become their den mother. Yes, he was a jerk, but he made up for it. Did you not watch the rest of the movie? I also think this lesson in particular was an interesting one to put in a DCOM. I'm probably wrong, but I can't really recall another movie that had this exact message. Man, watch that's like the main message of High School Musical or something, and I completely forgot. I guess where the movie does fall short is that aside from Emily and sometimes the dad, every other character was really cliche and generic. Barely felt like anything was put into them, but they weren't really the focus, so I'm not too mad at that. Oh wait, I take that back. Hot Topic was pretty funny. I'm not knocking that store either when I say that. I go in there all the time. It's like the only place that has Ben 10 merch. I think the story's fine. Nothing stands out about it. It's like a mixture of the game plan and Mrs. Doubtfire with a little nod, wink, wink to Mr. Troop Mom. Contrary to what you guys might believe, I'm not a hard man to please when it comes to these kids films. It's a fine movie. It's a cliche, sure, but it has enough heart and feel-good moments to, at the very least, make it an entertaining watch. There weren't a lot of like cringe-worthy moments or just horrible, writing mistakes or anything. There are obviously better DCOMs and there are obviously worse DCOMs, but I think this is pretty passable. It gets a 7 out of 10 from me. It doesn't have a lot going for it, but a couple things that do work, like Hutch's performance, his overall lesson, and the presence of the girls in general, really did work for me. I'd say it's on the same tier as like Hatching Pete, but not as good as Teen Beach Movie or Minutemen. Enough from me though. I want to know what you guys thought about the movie. Let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading your thoughts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon, subscribe for more, or even just give this a thumbs up. As always, I'm Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now. Peace.